Welcome
Let's
to the
go.
podcast. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Podgy Carter. You're on LFX Media. I
Yeah.
got my co-host Antho the Great, and we also have with us one of our featured guests. We're going to be featuring more and more often from the Very Blunt podcast. Introduce yourself, my guy.
You already know who it is. It's your co-host with the most, here to brag, both celebrate, toast. And you know we about all that smoke. I'm Tater Loose Cannon Adams. Another collaboration between the Very Blunt Sports Podcast and LFX Media. We right back at it again. So let's go.
Yes, sir. Tap in with us
Brother.
on our Facebook page, on LFX Media, our YouTube channel, also our own platform, lfxmedia.live. We're multi-streaming on all three platforms. Let's go, fellas. Let's talk
Tell a friend
heavy.
to tell a friend.
Exactly. Comment, subscribe, like. Don't just
All of
stare at us.
that.
Don't just stare at us. We see
Let us know you up in here.
Tap in, tap in.
for sure. Now listen, let's get right to it. I mean, I,
Yeah.
I was I was saying earlier that you probably not a Celtics or a
Nah.
Boston fan because it's tip off. So I like I'm gonna get it right off the bat. I'm gonna say I like Boston
Me
finishing.
too.
I like Boston finishing in the West. I mean in the East for sure.
It's time.
Jugular vein game tonight, baby. Jugular
Yeah.
vein game.
It's time for Boston to put them out and move to Philly because this is gonna be Philly's biggest test to me right here because basketball and throughout tradition the Celtics been known for beating down the Sixers. So this is what the Sixers need right now. They need Boston. They need to beat Boston. So Boston, hurry up, do A-Town stomp the Hawks and let's move on to Philly.
I think a big storyline with that game is really the health of your boy Embiid too. He didn't have to miss the last game. I think he wasn't even out there. Me and Podgy was speaking on it earlier that he didn't even suit up and come sit down on the sideline. And one thing for sure, two things for certain, even with Joel Embiid, their hands would be full trying to beat them young Bulls in Boston. So if he's not there, it won't even be worth the watch. I'm here to tell you, he better be 100%. He better get back on that sideline ASAP, or they had jeopardy of getting sent home real early.
See, and that's the kryptonite about Joel Embiid, though. It is his health. It ain't no question on whether if he could play. We all know that man could play, and he might get the MVP this year. But the question always going to be his health because it's like when the Sixers need him, he ain't there due to health issues, whether if it's back, knee, or whatever it is. I ain't a doctor, but I know that it's always some health issues with him.
True enough, we actually, me and Anto had a heated discussion about the MVP, and B, that's what he stood on. That Embiid should definitely be the MVP. I said the hat trick for the Joker, and when you speak on the health issues, um, he the most games that he's ever played is 68 in a season. You know what I'm saying? And I really look back on the consistency, your healthiness, throughout the seasons, even though MVP is just voted on, this season. But, you know, him only playing 68 games in his whole career, out of 82, that's a little lacking for me.
Yeah,
And I could understand that opinion, like, but and with me, that was more so of a all time argument, right? When you talk about the greats of all time bigs, I would include how available were you as one of your abilities as well. Um, Embiid would not officially break into that top realm of big men all time, and it's largely because of his health. But I told Haji that that is literally the only element because what I asked him to think about was this, and I'll ask you guys the same thing. Who was the last big man, especially when you think about modern era where the game has went away from the big man? It's more catered to the guard, it's more catered to the big skill set type of guys. Who was the
right.
last big man to truly lead their team to a championship as the go-to, the number one go-to, and who was the last big man to lead the league in scoring, averaging over 30, and he's done it in consecutive years.
You know what? I'm a throw a little something out there as far as he ain't lead the team to the championship, but he led the team to the finals. And I'm gonna say probably the last great big man was probably Dwight Howard.
And that's kind of what you got to get at, right? That the Dwight Howards, he's going to go down as one of the all-time as the big man. No question about it. Folks hate to talk about it. Folks don't like to talk about Dwight as they don't give him the appropriate respect on his name, but Dwight Howard will go down as a Hall of Famer. No questions asked. And
he should.
He will, no doubt. Like that many times leading in rebounds, blocks, a leader,
player of the years.
Defensive players of the year. He's done more than what people like to give him credit for. But in the end, I do feel that it's all going show in the end for Joel Embiid that if he can somehow consistently stay on this path that he's been on these last couple years, when you go back and look for the last center to average over 30 before he did it the last 2 years, you got to almost go back to the 70s. 81 was the last year that a big man averaged over 30 in the league. 81. And he's done it in consecutive years, 22 and 23. I think that those things alone to me, along with the fact that if you look at the consistency of his players, who would you say is his number two? James Harden? I love James Harden, right? But one thing we all know about James Harden is if you want to be disappointed, expect him to elevate his game in the playoffs, and then you'll be setting yourself up for the perfect disappointment because it never happens. You've never had Harden step up.
I'll put it to you like this. If somehow, some way that the 76ers can even make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, I'm going to say Joel Embiid got that monkey off of his back just a little bit. Just a little bit.
I would agree.
In order for him to be up there or even be talked about or even be put in that conversation as a big man, he got to take the appropriate steps. And I'm going to give him that. If he could at least get to the Eastern Conference Finals, it's like when a team get to the Eastern Conference Finals or the Western Conference Finals, you kind of look for them to be back there the next year, right? Mm-hmm. In some sense. So it's like, all right, we know he could get there because it's like he got a problem getting there.
Right.
So I ain't gonna throw championship or bust on them just yet. I'm gonna just, like they keep saying, trust the process. We're gonna trust the steps. I ain't a Sixers fan, but what I'm saying, they fans need to trust the process and trust the steps. You gotta crawl before you walk. Let them get to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yep, and that's kind of where I get with the Celtics as far as me and P both having the Celtics being the team we look at in the East. I feel like I picked them to win last year, right? I picked them to win it this year at the beginning of the year.
Even more so quietly last year.
Yeah, last year I was running with the Young Bulls. This year I expect them to win it, and it's mainly because, like what you just spoke on, before you go, you have to go taste it. You have to go see what it's like to understand that this is not regular basketball, and to a degree, it's not even regular playoff basketball. Once you get to the finals, it's different. Everything's different. So it's different when you start the playoffs. It's different basketball. You got to learn to get comfortable with that. Then once you get to the conference finals championship, it's another level of basketball again that ratchets up. And for them to have already been there, and for them to be so young and already have had so much success, I feel like they are primed now to be like, not only are they young, but they low key are vets. Now just that fast because of how much success they've had from Tatum being a rookie, dunking on my all-time favorite player, LeBron, in his rookie season in the conference finals. You know what I mean? That's how he was introduced to the league.
I feel like whatever team out of the Sixers and the Celtics, whoever win that series, I'm gonna say they going to the finals.
Agreed. Agreed
because
wholeheartedly.
I had thought that Milwaukee was gonna go further, but it it ain't looking like that.
That
I
boy
think
Jimmy
I
fucking
think I
Buckets
think
had different plans.
what's up, fellas? By the way, I want
Hey,
to
hey,
move.
What they do,
Bucky
Chime
said
in
put some
on
Juggernaut?
that
respect on his
note right
name.
there. I'm gonna chime in
Go-
on that note right there, and I'm gonna pump the brakes. Ain't nan one of them beat Miami if Miami beats Milwaukee.
Oh, stop it, Pat.
I
They were already calling the gentleman sweep in the Milwaukee series, and we see what's happening with that. And then we also got to keep in mind that he's been to the finals and the conference finals for the last 3 seasons. Regardless of how their regular season was, you don't gauge playoff basketball off of the regular season at all.
That's
Um,
true.
and we we,
yeah.
we got to know this. And it's not just because I'm a Heat fan. It's just because I'm seeing that no matter what's going on, Giannis come back in the game, regardless of all that. Nobody's trying to hear about the injuries. We lost 2 players, and we still are showing grit. We're showing
Let
character,
the last
and
three
not just
years
that.
the
Not
the
just on
Heat
top
been
of that.
the little team that
Hold on 1
could.
second, bro. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Get my point across, and then y'all can talk. But it's going to be somebody in both conferences that ain't going to be the Nuggets, and it ain't going to be the Sixers or the Celtics.
Well,
No,
go
what I
ahead.
was saying was the Miami Heat for like the past 3 years, honestly, they really been that little team that could.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people, even though they try to shit on the when the Lakers had beat them in the bubble, try to say bubble ring, that don't count, blah, blah, blah. It do count. It wasn't their fault that the world was in a pandemic. You know what I'm saying? But I was just saying, yeah, Miami always been that team. Well, for the past 3 years, that been kind of like sneaky good. But I'm really seeing this Celtics in this Sixers series is gonna be the one. It's gonna be the one.
Yeah, that's gonna be the one that come out, and I'm gonna tell you why I respectfully disagree with my boy Pat. Right, Miami is the truth. I've never slept on Jimmy Buckets. He a H Town, straight out of Tomball, Texas. H Town, stand up. You feel me? But what I will tell you is this: teams win championships, Pat. And as great as I know Jimmy Buckets is, if you go back to those 3 years that you're referring to and really look at why they haven't won, it's never been Jimmy. So I'm not gonna say that they're gonna start winning now because of Jimmy, right? Because what you gotta understand is that when they lose, Jimmy will go out there and ball out. But then what's gonna follow up? He emptied the tank.
Um,
You
real
look
real simple
historically
on that
after
answer.
his great performances. If you go look historically, what happens? He does not perform up to that same level afterwards, and it's because they're all NBA players, and all great NBA players can muster it up. Some of them are super clutch, like your Foxes, like your Jimmy Buckets. They step it up in clutch moments and big moments. They play big games,
Yeah.
but you're not finna win a series with one big game, and you're not gonna win a series with two big games. But what we see him do throughout a series is he will ball out, but he's gonna run out of juice. It happens every single time. And if you think that that game last night didn't take a lot out of him, and that's not gonna pay dividends down the line in the playoffs when he goes into another series with a better defensive team, well, not even say that they better, but another good defensive team that's gonna weigh on you again, and that your fatigue and that the youth that's in your legs in your first series won't be there in the conference finals. I'm telling you, it happens every year. Jimmy
I
gives
think
Also,
us
I
great
think I
performances
think
every
that
playoffs.
I
I
think
think Bam need to be more consistent.
I take those points. I take those points, and I understand the philosophy behind them. However, I'm watching this team as opposed to the bubble team that made it to the finals. And the difference between this team and the bubble team is that we do have a bench. And there are people that have stepped up with all these injuries coming up, and they've shown their valor. Like last night, people forgot about how Martin had a breakout game last night. Bam is still Bam, regardless of whether people are saying that he's this or he's that. Yeah, he might be undersized, but he was undersized the year we went to the finals. And he was the MVP of the Eastern Conference Finals. So he can, and he has shown that he does have that ability to get in those zones and get in the modes and the coach. And we don't talk about coaching enough. these are great coaches that are in the NBA right now. We got to give a lot of these guys credit because they are getting people to overachieve, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So, reason why I say Miami is going to surprise some people already is because of the fact that it's a momentum thing. And we also have to understand momentum is important because just like in the Lakers series, all they needed was some motivation and some momentum. And they got that motivation and they got that momentum. And you can see it clearly now, no matter what Memphis is trying to do in that series, it's not working. It's not working. And these guys are showing grit and they're showing determination. Playoffs is a whole new season. I have a strong feeling that somebody is not going to make it that everybody's predicting to make it. And it may not be Miami. It may not be Miami, but you got some teams that are out there like Sacramento, even though they're 2-2 with the Warriors. I still got Sacramento winning that series. They're younger, they're more together, and they got a coach who was already tested in those waters. You know what I mean? Like he's not just some guy that we just picked off the street. You know what I mean? Mike Brown won Coach of the Year this year. So I still feel like that's my dark horse in the West. Sacramento is still very, very much so alive in the playoffs, and they're not going to be easy for anybody. You know what I mean? They're not going to be easy. They got guys that can definitely fill it up. They got guys that can score, and they do have a team. They got a team concept that's really, really solid right now. And they're giving no matter how Steph and them may have won the last game, they're giving them problems. They're giving them problems that a lot of people didn't think that they were going to give. And so you just never know. I think it's going to be interesting going down the line. If things do play out the way that you guys are talking, I will say this. Boston does hold a slight edge, but not a big edge. And it does depend on how well Embiid can function in that next series. You know what I'm saying? Maxi's great. They do have a bench. They got Harris. They got Harden. But how they match up against, and we can't gauge it on this Boston Atlanta series because Atlanta's overmatched. You know what I mean? And I think everybody knew going into this series that Atlanta was going to be overmatched.
It's supposed to be a sweep in my mind.
It's not that they don't got good players. You know what I mean? It's not that they don't got good players. They're just overmatched. You know what I mean? Like, and it's clear. You know what I mean? It's clear. They don't play good interior defense. The holes are wide open, and what's the name? Even when Smart's getting free lanes down the middle for a dunk, things of that nature, that just lets you know that they're playing an overmatched series there. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see, you know what I'm saying? But if things do pan out in the Boston Philadelphia series, I think Boston's going to take that series and they're going to have to play Miami.
I'm gonna take the technical route on this one, and I'm gonna just say this, right? Even though it's wide open, I think everybody got a chance to go to the finals and to make it. But you had brought up Golden State. Now, until somebody knocked them off, they still the reigning defending champs. You know what I'm saying? So they got the higher chance of going to the finals and actually winning because they've been there, done that. They're the modern dynasty right now. It's basically Golden State, Steph Curry, and then it's everybody else because of what they brought to the game as a team. How they changed the landscape of the NBA. They made everybody play like them. So while this series is going on, until somebody knocked them off, they still the favorite. And that's just being technical about it and just basically being for real about it. They the threats. Even though Sacramento looked good, I'm gonna definitely say that about them. They deserve their props, their flowers. Mike Brown, he got that unanimous Coach of the Year first time ever.
Wow.
But you got Steph in that experience. You got them, like I said, they've been there, they done that. Sacramento, they young, and that's a good thing and that's a bad thing.
True. They're an injury. Golden State, though, is an injury away from being. You know what I mean?
I put it to you like this.
I feel like those guys, they definitely did get a little punch drunk from the last championship. But it showed in the regular season. They kind of coasted through this season. You know, they didn't really finish where people probably would have thought that they would have finished. And they did battle a lot of injuries throughout the year. And let's be honest, they're not 110% healthy. You know what I mean?
But a Steph Curry with his back against the wall is a dangerous Steph Curry.
He is, but he's not 110%. And I have a feeling, as we were talking about, and I do agree with Anthony on this philosophy that, these guys, you know, look, injuries, things like that can really, really make a difference, and it will encourage you to run out of gas a little bit faster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and even though Curry's built different, we all know he's built different. You know, that's not even a question. He is one of the top 2 players, if that, in the world when he is healthy. And he's been battling injury this year, and this is a little different for him. He's starting to show some chinks in the armor. And I did watch it throughout this Golden State series because the Sacramento Kings definitely are giving them a little bit more of a fit than we're probably giving them credit for. You know what I mean? Like, even though they are young, they are not as experienced, and it's kind of hard to beat that experience. Agreed. I just think that this year it's just not their year, man. It really isn't. Even if they make it past this round, they're not going to survive the next round.
All right,
go ahead.
Let me give a shout out real quick to our Facebook audience, to our YouTube audience, LFX Media, also LFXmedia.live. We shouting out to Very Blunt Podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. Actually, give us in the comments who's coming out of the West and who's coming out of the East. Let us know in the comments how you feel. But
make sure you guys are following these platforms too. Very Blunt Podcast, LFXmedia.live. You know what I mean? Make sure you're following all of this and support the movement. And I know you guys see us out there doing our live thing. You know what I'm saying? We're bringing this to you guys, you know what I'm saying, to give you guys a fresh perspective. So
they can't help but notice. They can't help but notice. But let me make 2 quick comments, going back to Tay's comment and Anthos' comment. As far as Sixers, do or die, yes, it is do or die for the Sixers, because here's what's going to happen if the Sixers don't come out of the East and actually win something. Doc, who historically, now in the playoffs, his record is below 500. And we all know that Doc is quick to get fired from a team as a coach. Yeah. So Doc is up out of there if they don't win, and Harden is going to leave. He's going to find another team. They're going to disassemble. That's what's going to happen to the Sixers if they don't put up and show up and put up. And
he's actually been rumored to come back to Houston, by the way, not to cut you off, but there's been a lot of rumors about Harden coming back to the H.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We'll take him along with our new coach.
It's a good fit for him.
Oh, yeah. Come on now. Ime Udoka working with Harden and Jay Green and hopefully
that would be awesome.
Hopefully Wembanyama. Hey, the city might be on fire.
That would be awesome to watch that. And I think that would really, really bring the
something seems off about James Harden. I don't know if it was the whole dumbass Brooklyn experiment, but something just seemed like off about him. Like,
it's his shape, bro. His conditioning is off, bro. His conditioning
I think it's that too, not to cut you off, but I think it's more of like a mental thing, a comfortable thing. He look and feel like, yeah, I'm like he's just obligated to play basketball. He don't look like he like it anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I think you're right.
I think that's when a lot of those Houston rumors started. I think that's
just his game, because now he's playing with people that he's not the feature. You know, he's not the focal point of the offense. He has to play with other people that are. He has to distribute. He has to do other things, and I think it does affect his game a little bit.
Sometimes I don't think that he there. Like, it don't seem like he enjoying it no more. It ain't like the the OKC or the
No,
Houston Rockets,
no,
James Harden.
He's had to relearn his game,
It was like
and
he went to Brooklyn and it was just like
yeah,
I think when he was in
yeah,
Houston, it was his
like
team and it wasn't as much pressure, right? When he was in Houston, they allowed him to say, hey, this is your team, bro. Run it, do your thing. You go through the city. He go everywhere in Houston. It was love. Even when we didn't win all the way, we was feeling like, well, we were in the game 7 with the Warriors when they had KD, Steph, and Clay and Dre all in their primes, and we took them to a game 7. And when you look at our
yeah,
team, honestly, you look at that team and you don't feel like they were supposed to be on a game 7 with a team like that with 4 Hall of Famers in their prime, and we had Chris Paul out of his prime. James Harden was
yeah,
in his prime, but other than that, we didn't have any like true perennial all stars even outside of those. So for him
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah,
have the
yeah.
team
Howard,
on his back and lead them to that type of performance against the Warriors, it always had us in the city showing him a different level of appreciation because we always felt like he's getting so close with so little that we gotta appreciate what he's done. And I think when he left, the pressure to actually deliver on a championship changed his whole view of the game because think about it. He didn't get judged in Houston like that outside of his playoff performances, right? But when he left, every single thing he did was critiqued. Every move, every decision. If he didn't play that night, if he wouldn't feel like, oh, he's not playing, what's up? Oh, he's not playing what we think he should. He got to go average this. So
yes,
he like Paz said, he switched his game. He
here's my
playing with a
thing.
person.
yeah, he did.
Here's
Mhm.
my thing about it. Like
That was
no,
well said, Aaron.
it's it
Appreciate it,
seems
bro.
like nobody fears the beard no more.
Mhm.
Nobody
Yeah,
fears the beard. And here's where Brooklyn messed him up at. Let's be honest, right? He goes to Brooklyn,
Yeah,
KD over there, Kyrie over there, and in some
yeah,
people's eyes and mine, Kyrie, started going, far left. James Harden, he looking at KD like, yo, what's up with your mans? What's going on with him? Like, I came here for this. Like, I came here to. I understand. I ain't in Houston no more. I'm in Brooklyn, still in New York, still the media capital. Now it's
right.
making me look like, you know what I'm saying? Because I came here for y'all. Now your homie, he's so far left. What did I come here for? Like, I left Houston for this. Like, what's up with your mans? That's why I said it ain't the same James Harden. Nobody fears the beard. He don't ever since the whole Brooklyn thing, it's like his love for the game ain't there no more. It's like I'm just here.
Mhm. Let me say this about Kyrie, about Harden, about a lot of players that are seeming to be acting out. Some of the things that Ja has done, I think they're not up to the mental capacity. It's a mental issues that's going on. As light as they may be, I'm not saying that they're crazy, but I'm just saying there's some small imperfections in their mentality that's causing people to say, "Well, what's wrong with him? Why he can't put it together? And as skilled as he is with that one step, why can't he use that one step and go to the hole? Why is he throwing so many air balls? Why is he?"
We here?
Yeah, so it's
You still there?
yeah, it's a mental issue. It's a mental issue that needs to be addressed all over the league, all over sports, actually.
Did you
The
guys
men.
catch this part of it too?
Uh huh.
There, the referees, and we got to go back on and touch on them.
Right.
They started not really catering to James when he was very good at drawing fouls at one point in time,
Mm-hmm.
True.
and that
True.
did take something away from his game as well. You know what I mean? Like he can't operate and do the things that he was doing with the shake and bake in Houston.
and I
And
feel
I
that that's
noticed it
kind of to
this
that
year.
point too of health. I think that kind of points to that health issue. When you bang into the bucket for like, I mean, Harden isn't a spring chicken anymore too. Let's also keep it real.
No,
He's
he's
Yeah.
not.
entered into his 30s. We're not talking about the 25, 27-year-old James Harden no more. And that goes to what I mentioned earlier when I spoke about health, right? When
Yep.
you bang to the bucket as much as he's done over his career, those fouls that we all came enamored with, loving how he was able to create contact and finish and get to the cup, and he's never been a diehard fitness type person like LeBron. That's like, yeah, I'm devoting my body in the off season to staying in fit shape. So while I do all of this banging and contact at the bucket, I can sustain it at a high level over a long period of time. He doesn't do
Yeah.
that. So it's really not as hard as, and if you really step back and look at it, and look at what's happening, he's getting blocked when he goes to the bucket. I was just saying this to my boy the other day. Like, look at him, bro. It's not a knock on him that like, oh, he's no good no more. He's just not 2010, 2011, 2014, 2015,
No, he's
2012.
not.
You know what I mean? He's not that
Nah.
hard no more. So if you're
No,
looking for him to
no,
be
you're right.
able to lead the league in fouls and finishing and all of that, he's not as fast. He's lost half a step. It's period point blank. It's easy to see.
It is due to his
He can't
conditioning.
jump
You're
as
right.
high. So when he gets to the cup and tries to finish through contact against longer defenders who are in their primes or younger, and they blocking that shit. So he has to adjust his game the same way, even to a lesser degree, LeBron has to adjust his game. The shot that he hit last night to win the game with the high off the glass layup, that shot is not the LeBron shot he would have to shoot in 2015. 2015, everybody's getting put in the fucking rim because he doesn't have to go off the glass and do.
Absolutely.
It's all about adjusting to what your game is now and how can you be at your peak effectiveness at your current condition. And that's what James Harden is. It's not really a knock. It's just Father Time tapping him on the shoulder saying, hey,
Yeah.
that vertical is going to
And
drop a
not
few
just
inches.
that,
Can you still be effective?
you're absolutely right. And to just pile on top of that, and you're well put. I was about to say, his conditioning. It is, and it was an issue like when he first got to Brooklyn, and it carried on to Philadelphia. He didn't really come in game shape like he was in his younger days. You know what I mean? And that does take a toll on older players, and we've seen it happen. You know what I mean? Like there's other players that actually have felt the same sting, felt the same, bump, if you will. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they actually, the conditioning. It's really how you do in the off season really does determine your level that you can stay at if you're a primetime player. You know what I mean? If you're a primetime player, you can tell that, like, for a guy, like, for example, not to go back to Butler, but Butler's he's a condition freak. You can tell he's well conditioned, well-oiled machine. And even at this stage of his career, he's still a threat. And as a matter of fact, he might be more of a threat now than he was when he first got into the league. And so it is conditioning. And I think James did let it slip maybe for a season or two. He didn't really come in full shape. You can see that he's heavier now than he used to be. And he did pack on some pounds. And that does take a toll on the body. These guys.
And I think that's also largely, like you say, when we talked about his whole desire, does he love the game? Like a homie was mentioning earlier, he doesn't seem like he's there sometimes. It seems like that's all part of why you saw what you saw. Like when you it's like anything else. If you really endeavored into what you're trying to do and you're really truly devoted to it and you loving it and you having fun, it's easier to wake up in the morning and go do shit you don't feel like doing. Because I love what I do. Like, I mean, I love what I do. When I go to the Houston Rockets Stadium, I'm getting love. The cat, the person that's been grabbing my bag from the jump. We got our own special handshake, high five. We do every time. I got my own restaurant downtown. I walk in there. Everybody show me love, whoop the whoop. Then you go to Brooklyn, and none of that is there. None of that warm embrace. None of that. Oh yeah, my club over here, my name being none of that. All they want you to do is produce a championship. Straight up. All we want to know now, you did all of that for Houston and they appreciate you for that. Cool. But for here, we need you to deliver us a championship now. And that's all Brooklyn was trying to hear. They wasn't trying to hear nothing else.
No, bro, but you're absolutely right. He is definitely he's not the same player, and you're right. There is something you can tell.
He mentioned
something.
I could honestly see it. You can see it, like. And it's affecting his game from his shot selection, from even how he dribbles the ball. It's like he ain't there.
He ain't.
He feel it's like you had a job. It's like, I'm just here for a check. Like,
yeah.
I
Hey,
think,
that is
hey, I
super
think what
facts.
he's missing. I think what he's missing is the strip clubs down here in Houston.
Yeah.
He was a large contributor to the strip clubs.
I mean, his jersey hanging in the rafters, not at that Toyota, at the damn strip club. He hanging in the rafters out here in the strip club. This
Hey,
is
not
not
to
a
shit,
joke.
not to
This is
shit on
literal.
Brooklyn, but they ain't got no nice strip clubs.
Come on, it definitely ain't fucking with Houston. Come on, bro. Well, however nice they think it is, if they came this way, they'll think different.
Yeah, we.
Hey, hey, it's all right. It's all right.
It's definitely bullet wounds and cigarette burns up in that joint.
Yeah, we
but
definitely top
it ain't
three in the
Houston
country.
though.
Yeah, we
No,
definitely
I
top
mean,
three in the
we
Nah,
all
country.
hey,
got what we good at. They like the business sector. Everybody got to go to New York for all of that there, the good bit. And you come here for the good, thick, Southern country fed women. We all got what we good at. Goddamn.
hey, I ain't gonna lie, man. The East Coast and the North is rough, rugged, and raw. You already know what it is, man.
As far as the strip clubs up here,
Yeah, it's rough, rugged, and raw, baby. You already know it. You already know it, man. It's like, it's either they're a sandwich away from being a whole, what I'm saying, hut, or you know what I mean.
Well,
uh,
let me say this about the teams that's playing presently, and just to probably piggyback off of what Pat was saying about the hunger and the tasting blood that the Heat have. Actually, you have to look at Boston as well. They've tasted blood as well as a young team. They were injured. Brown was injured. Williams was injured, and they came close to finishing then 2 or 3 seasons ago. So they've tasted blood as well. And that's it's not even a dark horse. That's the favorite.
Oh, without question, they are the favorite, and I do expect them to handle business over these next two series. Um, it's just they're going to face something that I don't think people thought they were going to face. That's all.
Hmm. Yeah, we all gonna go. Anybody got a update on the score? Because I done moved upstairs to the upstairs office. I can't
Yeah,
see.
to the upper room.
Yeah, I'm in the
hey,
upper room.
To the upper room. Let me ask you guys this. In the Denver series, we see that Minnesota was able to hang on. Um, do you guys think that Denver, and I do really consider Denver still the favorite, even though I like Sacramento, I do still think that
40
Denver
to 41. The score is 40 to 41. 40 to 41.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, but do you guys think that like Denver is the favorite in the West? You know what I mean? And we really haven't touched on Denver per se. But I do look at them as still very, very powerful. Who faces them? Who faces them in the conference finals?
I want to say this week, if they win their division, I want to say they're going to play the Suns right now. It's going to be Denver and the Suns. It'll be the Lakers in the winner of the
Sacramento,
Warriors and Sacramento.
Yep.
So it's
I'm
looking
a
like,
go ahead.
yeah, it's just looking like this. Pretty much they're gonna have to go through the Suns, and that's gonna be fun, y'all.
That's gonna be a great series.
For
Yeah,
sure.
before I sign out, I'm gonna say this about as far as Denver. I think it's gonna be them. I'm gonna piggyback off of what he said. It's gonna be them and the Suns, but I really don't got Denver really making it because they another one. Joker and Embiid, they just like this. I want to see them get to the next step and to the next level. You know what I'm saying? Whereas you got somebody like KD who's been there. Chris Paul, he knows this is like it's winding down on him. We talking
Mhm.
about Father Time, like it's really up close on him. It's like,
It
yeah, here
is.
I am. So he
Yeah,
trying to
he's on the
make
down
something
one.
happen. And so I see the Suns being a little bit more hungrier than Denver. And I think
And a
the
little
Suns'
more dangerous.
experience is going to capitalize on the Nuggets' non-experience.
That's a great take. I
I
think
agree
that's
to a
true
degree.
too. Yeah, I think that's true too. I also will pile on top of that and say, um, even though they've had a fantastic, they've made some roster moves, right? And it shows. It shows. They've made some roster moves. They're a much better, much improved team. They gave Joker the help that he does need. You know what I'm saying? It will play a factor once they get to that level. And on top of that, the very last thing that I'm going to really say is I agree with Paji. For both of those guys, it's getting to a point now where they need to win a championship to really solidify their stamp as the leader, as a winner. You know what I mean? And it's more so Embiid than Joker, because Joker's a little younger. But
Yeah.
Joker definitely needs to win a championship to really solidify, being the league MVP for a couple of seasons, and he needs a Finals MVP. You know what I
And I
mean?
think I agree with that. I think, like you say, with both of them, if they can go get a chip, this
Yeah,
is that time when they can really separate themselves. But like I said, I also don't. I try my best to not be oblivious to where the game has progressed to now for big men versus where it was at for previous big men that we compare the current big men to. For instance, the NBA is not predicated for big men. No matter how we shape up or judge big men,
it's
this
not.
NBA is not for
Nah.
the
It's
traditional
not.
big men, just not. So, which is why when I spoke to P about how impressed I am with Joel Embiid, it's not strictly for the facts that are still ridiculous that he's averaged over 30 consecutive years, and we've never seen a big man do that since 81. That in itself is crazy. But on top
Crazy.
of that, he's
Yeah.
doing the 30 points a game in an era where 30 points from a center is
Unheard of.
ridiculous. It's
It's unheard of.
ridiculous. Come
It's
on, man.
unheard of,
Like
man. Listen.
when and then he can do it in so many ways. He'll give you the threes. He can come off the dribble. He can post. It's very impressive in an era that's really trying their best to make it so that they can't do that anymore.
He's a
They've
much
literally done it.
he's a prototype, bro. He is a
Yeah, bro.
prototype. He does
It's,
play little man, big man. He plays
mhm.
little man, big man for sure.
Hmm.
And so, for instance, and that goes back to my point of why I don't say if he doesn't do it that he's out of there. Because think about this: if Joel Embiid goes out and performs to the best of his ability, and James Harden goes out and performs to what we usually see James Harden do in the playoffs, they will still lose. And that won't have anything to do with the greatness or lack thereof of Joel Embiid. It will strictly be championships are not won by
Ooh.
individuals. I don't care how many
No,
Right,
no, you
right.
gotta
championships
have a
an
team.
individual has. He won those championships with a team. You've never seen one person up there on the podium when they win a championship. It's a team. It's the
It's a
coaches. It's the
team.
players. Everyone stands up there and holds and touches that trophy. Now that doesn't
Absolutely.
mean that everybody contributed equally, but they did all contribute to what eventually happened.
Well,
And
they
Embiid
contributed.
could be in that, yes, and Embiid could easily be in that type of situation at the end of this year, even if he goes out and balls out. Because we know what we've seen from Harden, we haven't seen anything from Maxi on the next level to feel like we have confidence that he can sustain being a go-to guy. Yeah, he's young, he's talented, he has a high ceiling, but he hasn't been there, and he's going
Not
to
yet.
go against a team that has a whole team full of people that has been there.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think
Not yet.
Embiid could be on an island. It could, like if they play Boston, I could see Maxi being locked out of the game by one of the perimeter defenders. I could see Harden pretty much being locked up for a certain degree because, like I said, he's older. He doesn't have that same spring. And when you going against a Brown or a Tatum at the cup, they're long, young, and athletic. So all of that trying to fit, no, it's not gonna
I
work.
think
I
he's
could
just
easily see both of them being, and then even
yeah,
Joel Embiid is gonna have to deal with somebody the likes of Robinson who is blocking everything. So it's not like he gonna have a cakewalk himself because you dealing with a stalwart defensively. So it's
yeah.
gonna be tough for them regardless. But if they don't play their
It's gonna
peak
be tough.
game and Embiid is not at his 100% peak, it's probably not gonna be worth watching.
Yeah, it's
Right.
gonna be tough. And I think that again, you have guys that like playoffs is a different series. Playoffs is a different season.
Hmm.
And some of these teams may not have been built for regular season greatness, but that's why you had all the trade deadlines and you had the pieces moved where they did. Like, for example, I'll go back to Miami again. We picked up Kevin Love, and he actually was an absolute factor in that first game in the series against the Bucks, regardless of whether Giannis went down or not. He was out there stroking threes. He was actually looking like old Kevin Love. You know what I mean? And these are the type of things. It's chemistry. It's team chemistry. And you're right, Ant. It's not just one player. I just look at the way that the teams are playing and their chemistry and camaraderie right now, and I do think Miami is going to it's gonna shock. They're not just gonna shock people in this round. They're gonna shock the next round as well.
True indeed. And I want to speak on what you said about playoffs being a different beast. Just to throw my argument in that me and Anto been arguing about this MVP thing. What Joker has done in his career wise, I mean, he just stepped in. He did a triple double in the playoffs, which gave him 7 triple doubles in the playoffs, which he's in the company of Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain only. One has 9, one has 3. Joker has 7 of them things, and Embiid has 0 triple doubles in the playoffs. So I'm looking at what you contribute as a player to your team wholeheartedly. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, we're going to see how this thing pans out. Definitely.
We'll see how it pans out.
Yeah,
and I agree with that point too, Pete. Like like I said, because my point when we was even talking about that, all time, like I said when we first started the pod, that argument for me would be more so for taking Joker over Embiid if you were talking about an all-time great. Like, oh yeah, in the history of the game, I'm taking him because of what he's done in the playoffs. I would completely back you on it if we're gonna rate their careers all time. That Embiid has not done more than the Joker right now. I agree, but this year in particular was the only thing that I referred to when we speak about MVP. And like I say, just the fact that the last time this happened, I wasn't born. Matter of fact, the last time what he's doing, the last time it happened, it was 10 years before I even got here.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't even born. 10 years before I was even born was the last time something like this happened. And that's crazy to me. That's crazy.
I understand that wholeheartedly because in this era, even in this era, it still is unheard of what these guys are doing. And we definitely got to give them the credit where it's due. They are prototypes. Once again, they're prototype big men. Mm-hmm. They're not just, you're running the mill big men. And it did prove one thing, that going forward in the years to come, we're going to start seeing more of these guys. Like we were talking about briefly, the young man that's playing in the D League. He's 7 foot
you mean Wembanyama that's playing overseas?
Yeah, this kid that's 7'4", man, and he's got the skill sets of I don't know what you consider those skill sets, but the skill sets are amazing.
Dribble crossover. He like KD, but he a little longer. It's like KD, but longer.
To me, he's a lot longer, but he's a lot longer. This guy is like a freak of nature. He's a prototype. You know what I mean? And it's like you just got to really just say, you know what? It's going to happen. The big man is going to make a resurgence, and it's going to come back, and it's going to be a factor moving forward.
And with this title being historic NBA playoffs, it has been historic. And another moment in history, the actual sweep of the Sixers of its first round sweep is the Sixers haven't done this again since 1981, and they swept without Embiid. So not to throw any shade on Embiid, but it's just like out of the 8 times he's been absent, they won 6 of those 8 games. So being an MVP, you're a difference maker. You're a change. You're a change within the whole system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to say anything bad about him, but I'm just pointing out the fact that they've won so many times without him. You know what I'm saying? So if you're the most valuable player and they're winning and you're not present, then we have to question that trophy that we're trying to hand to you.
Would you question it over 6 games though, bro?
No, 6 playoff games.
I know what I'm saying. That's not this year. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why I say MVP is a yearly situation. That's why I'm not basing it.
the triple double Joker did was this year. The triple
Also in the
what Embiid
playoffs, though,
did has
right?
not happened yet in the playoffs.
Exactly. This isn't a playoff award, bro. All the things you mentioned, I agree with. None of them are as supposed to be into equation when you were given this award. This award is for the 82 game regular season. And in that 82 game regular season, Embiid's done something that we haven't seen since 10 years
Well,
before.
well, you do have a point there, Anth, but I will say this. Lately, they've been counting how far you go in the playoffs too, because they're not announcing that award right away. And they
Now,
are.
I will say this. A lot of folks feel like they don't because this is why. A lot of these races be real close. Then the playoffs come and the real MVP shows who they are, right? And the award is still given to the person that didn't perform in the playoff. This argument comes up every year. It's the same reason when LeBron didn't win MVP and they gave it to Derrick Rose back in 11 or 12 or whenever that was, and they saw each other in the playoffs and he shut D Rose down the whole fourth quarter. And in the end, real MVP showed who he was, but Derrick Rose still got the award after getting showed up by LeBron. It's because it doesn't matter. Like, this is a regular season award.
Yeah,
They're gonna
it
give it
is.
to who they want. If it was based off of that, no way Derrick Rose gets that MVP over LeBron
No,
after
you're
he
absolutely right.
literally shut him out of the game.
That was the motivation for Jordan getting over Barkley when he was with the Suns. So I mean, I do feel you on that. I just feel like, if we see that the Joker does win it this year, and they were saying the whole season that Embiid was really the guy to do it, and Joker still wins it, we're seeing a change in the guard. We're seeing a change in how the NBA is looking at this award. And it's going to be interesting to see, man. We'll just have to sit back and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Absolutely. So again, historic NBA. I want to get down and take part in it. We appreciate you coming out in our Facebook group. Appreciate you guys on LFX Media YouTube and LFX Media Live, our own platform. I am Podgy Carter with my co-hosts, 3 of the 4 horsemen. Definitely want to shout out Tay from Very Blunt Podcast.
Salute to the homie. Salute to the homie. Good content today. Appreciate you
it,
coming,
brother.
bro.
For sure. And I talked to him. I said at least once a month we need to tie in, these podcasts and let them know that we out here. Well, they know we out here. They hear us. We talk heavy all the time. So,
Yeah. Just
nothing.
let them know that we're consolidated and we are united.
We are strength in numbers. So definitely enjoy the playoffs. Everyone, we thank you for coming out. If you didn't know, now you know. We will see you on the next show.
Salute.